So, hi, nice to meet you in person. So my first question would be, you have an intense background in Wushu.
That's correct.
and sound work. How does the physical discipline and the philosophy of martial arts influence your mental and emotional preparation for a complex scene, even when there's no fighting involved at all?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. Martial arts is a foundation of how I built my life. I was a very lost child until I started training, and of course, like learning the discipline and just the approach to how to do anything. That is where I learned that from. So in terms of the approach of a scene, I think, especially like a big scene, there's so many moving pieces to a film set, and as the actor, you're at the center of it. You're not necessarily the most important part, but some days it certainly feels like it. And when you have a crew of like 100 people, everyone's trying to do their job perfectly at that right moment, you also have to do your job perfectly at that right moment. And so the pressure of that does feel quite heightened sometimes, and that makes it brings me back to my competition days. So for Wushu, it's a performance martial art, and it's the same thing. It all comes down to one moment, because one mistake and that's it. There's no do-overs. It's about consistency. How often can you do it? And so my approach to filmmaking is very much the same, in that when I was competing, I never tried to do like the craziest things possible, because most of the time you're gonna fail. And for film, sometimes you'll have the luxury of that, but for the most part, you just have a couple of takes to get it down. And so I do what I know I can do 10 out of 10 times. And so I approach a performance in the same way. The first couple, I'll just do what I know I can do, play it pretty conservative, and then if there's time, the director usually opens up and says, go crazy. Then I'll try weird stuff, and that's when, you might fall on your face, but sometimes it works out, and that's what they keep. So yeah, it is a similar approach. I guess it's a risk tolerance thing too.
Do you prepare or make any experience at home before the scenes for these parts of going crazy?
Yeah, I think the preparation you can do, obviously be familiar with your words and the sides, understanding where the characters are in that scene, what your motivations are. I think all of these things you want to be clear about, so that you know how you can play around. When you're on set, it's going to look a little bit different than you imagined. You don't know what the other actors are going to do just yet. And so I think just being able to be present and in the moment is very important. And if you know the material a lot better, like if you're really prepared, then it allows you to be more aware of other things happening, because you're not thinking about like, I got to remember my lines. Like, you already know it. You don't have to worry about it anymore. So I think, yeah, the preparation definitely allows you to be more sensitive to other things.
Thank you. Kevin Tran in Supernatural resonated deeply with fans who often felt like outsiders thrown into overwhelming situations. What was the most profound interaction you've had where you realized you're acting as a real-life anchor for someone watching you on screen?
I think it's going to these conventions. Like, I never thought of anything of my acting, let alone anyone's acting, being that powerful or useful to life or the world. But when you start meeting the fans, and you hear the stories of how a single TV show has shaped their life or saved it or whatever, like it's such a weird thing at first, but the more you hear it, the more you understand it, and the more you realize just how much power a story has. And that's, really encouraging. It definitely makes me feel better about my choices in life, but at the same time, it also encourages me to not give up on storytelling and filmmaking, because you know the effect that it can have on people, and whole new generation of storytellers need that inspiration as well to keep the art alive.
It says that you are in the good path, in the right way.
Hopefully.
It seems so.
Yeah, you can try.
Transitioning from an actor in massive franchises to producing your own films, like Empty by Design, is a massive leap of faith. What was the exact moment or the specific frustration with the industry that made you say, if I want this story told right, I have to be the one to build it?
I wish my statement was like that, but I did a project the year before that. Worst thing ever. Still hasn't released, but I was very excited for this one too. I was the lead actor. It was for a video game that I loved, and we were going through that project, and me wondering, I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Why are we doing this? Why is this happening? Can we change this thing? Like, this doesn't make sense for the game, for the story. And I had so many complaints that, because it just didn't make sense. I didn't want to be difficult or anything. It just didn't make sense. It felt like they were trying to make a game for these gamers of this game, but they hadn't played the game before. And so they're using this game as an excuse to not tell a good story. And they didn't understand the game or the storytelling process. So I could not figure out what they were doing. In the end, it turns out they had lied to us. It wasn't actually the right deal. They had spent a lot of money, but they were only trying to impress other investors to get more money. And and I was the one pointing out how terrible they were at their job. It was such a weird experience. I'm like, okay, so they want us to be pawns in this thing, and we're doing this terrible project, under a guise, and I just felt so gross about it that I'm like, okay, well, if I'm doing shitty projects, I might as well do my own shitty projects. Like, why not? And so that's when I, on the flight back home with my producing partner now, I'm like, hey, let's make our own thing, because this was horrendous. And, with Empty by Design, we didn't have aspirations to make it anything except complete. That was it. But it turned out to be the most fun project I've done in my life. But only because it was with a group of my best friends at the time that, we just went on an adventure and made a movie. So I think the next one, we have to do the same thing, but with a movie that's more commercially viable, maybe.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
You've traveled the world meeting fans. Is there one specific quick interaction with a fan at a con that still lives rent-free in your head because it was just so incredible, funny, or heartbreaking?
There's a lot that sticks in my mind, but I was just telling someone the other day that this one always sticks in my mind, and it has nothing to do with the convention. I got nominated for a Best Actor award, and it was a joke, but my manager asked me what I was going to wear. He's really into fashion, and I responded, I'm like, oh, I left my suit in LA, maybe I'll just wear a dress. And he responded in all caps, like, do not wear the dress. I'm like, oh, why such strong feelings? And my manager is so, progressive. He doesn't care about it. But I just thought it was such a strange thing. And so for whatever reason, in my mind, I'm like, I have to wear a dress now. Like, there's no reason why no one should be able to wear a dress if they wanted to wear a dress. I didn't even want to wear a dress. But we got into our first argument. He calls me a week later. He's like, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm dress shopping currently. And I'm in the dressing room. I had a stylist outside, and we were just going off on each other for the first time in a 20-year relationship. And, he was just like, look, I have no problems with it, but the industry is very conservative. Certainly in this part of the world, you cannot do stuff like this because it just kind of, whatever the reason, he's probably not wrong. But my response was like, look, if people don't hire me because I wear a dress at an event, I'm like, I don't know if they're the kind of person I want to work with, and sure, that might be short-sighted or what have you, but I think at the end of the day, everyone's got to have their line, their morals, their ethics, within reason, I guess. But for me, it just it felt like something that I had to do for whatever reason. At the end of that call, my stylist was outside waiting like for 45 minutes for me to try on one dress. And she's like, okay, two things. One, I'm not going to charge you for that. That was really intense. Sorry you had to go through that. But two, I just need to tell you that there's a little girl here with her mom. And, well, not a little girl. She was like in high school. And she's like, and she wasn't going to go to prom because she wanted to wear a suit. And she didn't think she was allowed to, but she overheard your conversation, and after that, she's gonna wear a suit, and like she was very happy, and so yeah. Anyways, Mom wanted to thank you for that. I'm like, damn. I'm like, okay, I gotta wear this dress. So like that one always sticks in my mind.
Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah.
So I think we are out of time. Thank you so much.
Thank you for
this time.